Yeah. Young man, always surfing, no waves. I do it for the kids.
All for the youngest. Young man, always surfing, no waves. I do it for the kids.
They wanna know.
They wanna know
Who I do it for.
who I do it for.
I do it all. I do it all. Do it for the kids.
All right, well, my name is Jeff. Welcome to the Daily Snack. I hope that you've got a little snack with you. I'm right here. I got one of my favorite things to do, actually, which is just to open a bottle of cereal and munch on them. So I've got some Fruit Loops here. I'm going to be munching on these. I hope you've got a nice little snack with you. Hope that you're comfy and ready to better understand how we can live an extreme life for God. Now, if you didn't check out yesterday's Daily Snack video, you missed a great extreme challenge. And when you're done with this video, I want you to go back and check out yesterday's. At the end of the challenge, we revealed the week's main point, our key to extreme living that we'll be focusing in on this week. Let's check it out right now. Disciples of Jesus respect authority. What an interesting main point this week. What an interesting key way to live extreme lives for God. Let's think about this a little bit. God is the highest authority, and He is in charge of everyone and everything on earth, whether they know it or not. In God's wisdom, He placed authority figures like maybe our parents or our teachers over us to guide us and to help us make good decisions. He wants us to respect and obey them when they tell us something. And if we do that, we'll be showing respect not only to them, but to God also. Now, even Jesus respected authority. It's true. There's a story in the Bible about some people who tested Jesus about authority. They were trying to trick him. Let's go ahead and check this out. This Bible story is about something that happened to Jesus, and it's written down in the first book of the New Testament by a follower of Jesus named Matthew. This was right towards the end of Jesus' life, and we see him entering into the city of Jerusalem for the last time. And if you know the story, Jesus went riding into town on a little donkey, and people worshipped him as he came to town. And then he cleared out all the naughty people who were in the temple, and the leaders of the religious group, well, they didn't really like the things that Jesus was doing and the things that Jesus was teaching. So they start to challenge Jesus and to start to question, who are you and why are you doing this stuff? And then they start trying to trick him, because what they want to do is arrest him and murder him. Horrible stuff. So, this story about Jesus' life is found in the book of Matthew, chapter 22. The story takes place, like I said, in Israel, actually in Jerusalem, and there's a lot going on in Israel you need to know back when Jesus walked on the earth. The people who were really in charge of Israel, it wasn't the Israelites. You see, the Romans had conquered Israel, and now the Romans were in charge. Most of the Israelites, guess what? They weren't too happy that someone else was ruling their nation. They had to do what the Romans said. They had to pay taxes to Caesar, who was the man in charge of Rome, which is what we talked about last week at the Daily Snack about a tax collector named Zacchaeus. Well, one day, some of the Pharisees, who were teachers of the religious law, which, again, it's such a hard thing to think about, religious law, that's so weird. They decided they wanted to try and get Jesus in trouble. Essentially, Jesus wasn't doing everything that they were doing and wasn't always agreeing with them about who God was. Well, they decided they were going to trick him. They were going to trick him into saying something bad so that they could go and tell the Romans. And if their plan worked, Jesus would get arrested. So they found Jesus, and this is what they said to him.
Teacher, we know how honest you are.
You teach the way of God truthfully.
You are impartial and don't play favorites.
Now tell us what you think about this. Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not?
All right, now remember, most of the Israelites did not like having to pay taxes to the Caesar, to the head of the Roman government. So I'm sure they would have been really happy if Jesus said, hey, don't worry about it, don't pay your taxes. But if Jesus said it's okay not to pay your taxes, then he would have been in all kinds of trouble with the Romans. What would he do? Jesus was too smart to fall into their trap. He knew what they were trying to do, and so he said, why are you trying to trap me? Come on, show me a coin that you use for the tax. And they handed him a Roman coin. It was a lot like our coins today. And there was a picture of someone on it, just like our coin today. And Jesus looked at the coin and he said, okay, whose picture and title are stamped on this coin? And it was an easy question. It was Caesar's picture and his title on the coin. So they replied,
Caesar's!
Well, that's when Jesus taught them a little something about authority. He said, okay, well, why don't you give to Caesar's what belongs to him, and give to God what belongs to God? The Bible tells us that these religious people were so amazed that they just gave up and went away. They tried to get Jesus in trouble, but instead he taught them a lesson on authority. We should all respect the authority figures that we have in our lives. Like I said, like our teachers and our parents, because God put them into our lives. Just like the Israelites, they had to respect the Romans as the authority in their lives right then. Most importantly, though, we need to remember to respect God's authority in our lives and always do the things that He is teaching us to do. Because disciples of Jesus respect authority. You know, if we really want to be true followers of Jesus and live extreme lives for God, we need to respect the authority figures that are in our lives. We're supposed to respect authority. It means we should obey authority figures when they tell us to do something, and we shouldn't talk bad about them behind their backs. But you gotta wonder, is there ever a time when you should not obey someone who is in authority over us? It's a really good question, and I would answer that question, yes, there is a time when we shouldn't obey an authority figure. If someone who has authority over us tells us to do something that we absolutely know is wrong and not the way God designed us to live, then we shouldn't obey. Let's think about this for a second. Imagine you are at the grocery store with your mom. And you're getting ready to check out, and right there next to the checkout, my favorite section of the store, this part that has all the candy that's there to tempt me to eat it. And your mom says, hey, see that package of M&Ms? No one's looking. Put it in your pocket, and then you can have it later. Well, first of all, that would never happen, right? Our mom would never tell us to steal candy from a grocery store. But let's just think about it for a second. What if she did? That would be a time to not obey her and say, you know what, God is teaching and tells me really clearly in the Bible, in this book, that we shouldn't steal candy from a store. We know what's wrong to steal. God tells that in the Bible. So in a situation like that, that's like basically the only situation, but don't obey your mom if she tells you to steal candy from a store. Can you imagine? What would you do if you were in a store and your mom said, hey, steal that candy? I mean, would you just fall over? It would be so weird. We should respect authority unless they tell us to do something that we know is wrong. It's against what God says in the Bible. It's not the way that God designed us. But other than that, we definitely need to respect and obey authority, because the authorities in our lives are there to help us live out the life that God has designed us to live, to help us make good choices in our lives. And this, I gotta tell you, I know it doesn't sound extreme, but this is an extreme concept, because the world all around us, well, they tell us that we get to decide who we want to respect and when we want to respect them. There's no idea that there's a God who's in charge of it all, and He has authority. He's given us people that we're supposed to respect because they're an authority over us. It's just wild, man. The world would be a whole lot different if we just respected people who were in charge. We've seen a lot of wackiness over the last couple weeks, and I think it's a lot because people don't respect any idea of authority. So this is this week's key to extreme living. Disciples of Jesus respect authority. This week, make sure that you are listening to the people that God has put in your lives, obey them, and don't talk bad behind their backs. I will see you tomorrow to learn more about this interesting key.
Young man, always surfing, no waves.
no waves. I do it for the kids.
They wanna know
They wanna know
who I do it for.
who I do it for.